ways that you can get to college and stay in college and be successful and live a decent life without going to the penitentiary. That's what the program is designed to do. And it's been very successful for 5 years. So the reason why we don't have one this year is because we want to redesign the program, make it longer for possibly a month or the entire summer, and strengthen the curricula, strengthen the course material, and have a more science-oriented science-oriented month or 3 weeks or whatever the time we can come up with enough money so that the kids can better prepare themselves to go into college and, and do that kind of work. But that's basically it. And we had the program evaluated last year. I mean, everybody loved it and so forth and so on. So my problem is to raise enough money, because in order to have those kids there last year, I had to raise $63,000. That's very difficult to do, very difficult. Because the University of Chicago doesn't pay for it. They allow you to use the facilities, but we have to buy the food, we have to buy the clothing that they wear. They all have distinctive clothing and, gym shoes. We take them on field trips. We have people come in and talk to them, and all that costs money. So that's the big challenge.
How was your experience being a fireman?
Say that again.
How was your experience being a fireman?
Well, being a fireman, there's an old saying, so why should I run into that building and everybody's running out? But I like being a fireman, but that wasn't my true aspiration. From the time I was a little kid, the only thing I wanted to do was be a police officer. Because when I was growing up down on 37th and South Parkway, there was a policeman that lived on the first floor. And I used to walk his dog. And I guess, I must have been about 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. And I guess that stuck with me, and the uniform captured my imagination or something. But I just never wanted to be anything else other than a police officer. And my mother used to tell people from the time Rudy was a little child, when people would ask him, what do you want to do when you grow up? I would say a policeman, trying to say policeman, So I was able to achieve that, and I haven't looked back. I don't regret one day of it, because it was something that I really wanted to do. And the key thing is, if you can get into something, a profession or occupation that you really like, then if you're lucky enough to get the precise job that you really like, it's like you don't have to work a day in your life. I enjoyed going to work every day. I've been shot at, spat on, lied about, and all of that through the years, but I still enjoyed every bit of it. And people say, oh, that's a dangerous job and all that. I still enjoyed it. And as I said before, I was lucky, because usually people end up in jobs that they have to take because they couldn't get anything else, or, it's just the opportunity didn't present itself. But you can get practically any kind of job you want if you prepare for it. All you have to do is find out, what would it take me to get this job or get into this profession? And once you see what's required, you lay out your plan and you stick to the plan. You don't deviate from the plan. I know I got to do this, 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 and this. You don't deviate from that. Because when you start rationalizing, says, well, I don't want to do this today, I think I'll take a year off, then you're going to get in trouble. You never make it. Just like when I started to go to college, I promised myself that no matter how long it took, I would get a master's degree. And during the 11 years that I was going to college, even though I was working, sometimes working 2 jobs, as a matter of fact, at one time working 3 jobs, I would always take those classes. Winter, summer, the year round, until I graduated. But it takes discipline, and it takes self-determination, but you can get there. All of you can get there.
How was that like?
You mean the training when you go to police academy? Well, it's physical training. You learn about the law. You learn about police procedures. You know, you have a little bit of sociology thrown in. They talk about different cultures. They talk about communicating with people, you know, the proper way to communicate with people. But the main thing is they prepare you for the discipline that's required to be a police officer, because when you're a police officer, you have to follow, it's a rules-oriented occupation. It's a rules-oriented profession. You have to follow the rules. And if you're the type of person that doesn't, you know, you want to make your own rules, policing is not for you. I guarantee you, you will fail or you'll get in trouble. But if you I just like the idea I could get out in the street, talk to people. I could play cops and robbers. You know, I love playing cops and robbers. Best game in town as far as I'm concerned. I put a lot of people in jail. I was a homicide detective for 14 years. At one time, I commanded the entire homicide division of the Chicago Police Department. I was chief of the organized crime division at one time with all the La Casa Nostra and the outfit and all that kind of thing. But I prepared myself for that. And a lot of positions that I hold, several positions that I held in the Chicago Police Department, they had never had a black in that position before, never. So I was also able to break some of the glass ceiling. Now all that's gone away, all that racism has died away, and the door is open for you folks. If you have the talent, you have the skills, you have the ability, as I said before, you can be successful.
Before we end, is there any questions from the audience?
Don't be bashful. You have questions? Speak right up. Yes.
Okay, hello, my name is Sarah Hill, and you said that you was, yes, a detective for 17 years?
A detective?
Yes.
Well, I start off as a patrolman. That's walking in the neighborhood in a uniform. Then I became a detective. And as a detective, what happens if there's a crime committed and there's no one in custody? Then the patrolman that comes to make out the report, he's not the one that really looks for the person who is responsible for the crime. Detectives do that. They do what you might call a follow-up investigation. In other words, in the homicide section, a murder is committed, somebody kills somebody else. When the police get there, they make out all the reports, and the crime lab comes to collect evidence and all of that. And then the case is turned over to the detectives. And then the detectives try to find out who done it. And that's what I did for about 14 years. And I really enjoyed it. It's like being Sherlock Holmes.
That's because I want to be an FBI agent.
Huh?
I want to be an FBI agent.
I didn't hear that.
I said I want to be an FBI agent, that's why.
FBI agent, that's investigative work too, yes. That's a great aspiration. All you got to do is prepare yourself. You can do that. They've got a lot of FBI agents who are now minorities. Years ago, you couldn't hardly find a black FBI. When I started off in the 50s, black FBI agents were few and far between. When I started off in the Chicago Police Department, there were only 6 black sergeants and 1 black lieutenant in the entire Chicago Police Department. And the police department then had 13,000 to 14,000 people. So times have changed. And that's one of the things that I'm getting over to you now. There's so many opportunities now, exist now, that didn't exist when I was a youngster. When I went down to the service, when I went from Chicago down to South Carolina for my basic training in the Army, we had to ride on a segregated train, where when you get off the little train station, you see colored, a sign said colored, you see colored white, you had to drink from the colored fountain, water fountain. They had a white water fountain. You couldn't get served if you walked in the front door. You'd have to go around the back to get served if you were down south. But all that's gone now. So the door is wide open for you folks. All you got to do is take advantage of it. And not only the FBI now, they have the ATF, that's alcohol tax and ATF, alcohol tax and tobacco. That's an investigative arm in the government. They have the CIA. You know what CIA is, don't you? Central Intelligence Agency. You can do that. There are a lot of investigative jobs that you can get involved in the federal government. Another thing I want to encourage all of you to do is learn a second language. Back in the back, these young men talking back there, did you hear me? Learn a second language. Each of you need to learn a second language. Why? Why? I'm going to ask this young man, but why did I say that?
Because there's more jobs and better opportunities.
That's right. Because this country, the population of this country is changing a lot. The Spanish-speaking population